December 7th, 1941, 7:02 in the morning, Opana Point, Oahu. Private Joseph Lockard stared at the radar screen. His eyes went wide. "Hey, what's this?" Private George Elliott leaned over. The screen showed a massive blip, bigger than anything they'd ever seen, over 50 miles of signal. They were supposed to shut down at 7 a.m. Their relief truck was late. Lockard had kept the radar running for practice. Now they were looking at something impossible. Elliott grabbed the phone, called the information center at Fort Shafter. "We have a large number of planes coming in from the north, 3 degrees east, 137 miles out." The switchboard operator wrote it down. Everyone had gone to breakfast, except one person, Lieutenant Kermit Tyler, a pilot, 28 years old, on one of his first days as a pursuit officer. The operator handed him the message. Tyler read it. "Large flight, from the north, 137 miles out." He thought for a moment. B-17 bombers were flying in from California that morning, 12 of them, due around 8 a.m., and this had to be them. Tyler picked up the phone. "Don't worry about it." The operator relayed the message to Opana Point. Lockard and Elliott looked at each other. The largest formation they'd ever seen. Don't worry about it? But Tyler was an officer. They were privates. They shut down the radar, 7:05 a.m. Tyler made a note in the log. He felt confident about his decision. 137 miles at aircraft speed, that gave them about 50 minutes until the planes arrived. Tyler had no idea what he'd just done. At that exact moment, 183 Japanese aircraft were flying toward Pearl Harbor. Commander Mitsuo Fuchida led them. His orders were clear: achieve complete surprise, destroy the American Pacific Fleet. The radar had detected them. The warning had been given and dismissed. 53 minutes remained. 53 minutes to sound the alarm. 53 minutes to scramble fighters. 53 minutes to man the anti-aircraft guns. 53 minutes to save 2,403 lives. The clock was ticking, and nobody knew. To understand what just happened, we need to go back, not far, just 6 months. June 1941. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto sat in Tokyo. He had a problem. America had cut off Japan's oil supply. Japan's military would grind to a halt in months. Yamamoto knew America. He'd studied at Harvard. He'd walked the streets of New York. He understood American industrial power. He told his superiors the truth. "If ordered to fight, I shall run wild for 6 months. After that, I have no expectation of success." They ordered him to fight anyway. So Yamamoto planned something audacious, a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, destroy the American Pacific Fleet before the war even began. The problem was Pearl Harbor's shallow water, only 40 feet deep. Standard torpedoes needed 75 feet. Japanese engineers worked for months. They developed shallow water torpedoes that could run in 40 feet. The Americans never thought it was possible. That's why they felt safe. November 26th, 1941. 6 Japanese aircraft carriers departed from a remote bay in the Kuril Islands. Complete radio silence. They sailed east through the empty North Pacific. No shipping lanes, no witnesses. Admiral Nagumo commanded the fleet. He thought the plan was too risky. He was probably right. Commander Fuchida would lead the air attack. He studied reconnaissance photos of Pearl Harbor, memorized every detail. 8 battleships, dozens of cruisers, all sitting at anchor every weekend. Perfect targets. While the Japanese fleet crossed the Pacific, America was getting warnings. Lots of them. November 27th, Washington sent a war warning to all Pacific commands. An aggressive move by Japan is expected within the next few days. Admiral Kimmel at Pearl Harbor read it. He ordered some additional patrols, but he didn't raise full alert. War warnings had been coming for months. Most intelligence pointed to the Philippines, maybe Malaya. Nobody thought Hawaii. Hawaii was 4,000 miles from Japan. Too far. Too obvious. The American military had run war games. The conclusion was always the same. A Pearl Harbor attack was impossible. December 3rd. American cryptographers decoded Japanese messages. Tokyo was ordering embassies to destroy code machines, to burn documents. The intelligence went to Hawaii. Kimmel filed it. December 6th, American intelligence intercepted a 14-part message from Tokyo, breaking off negotiations with the United States. Senior officers in Washington were concerned. Something was coming, but where? Nobody said Pearl Harbor. That same day, December 6th, the Japanese fleet reached its launch position, 230 miles north of Oahu, completely undetected. Fuchida briefed his pilots one last time. The entire American Pacific Fleet is in Pearl Harbor. This is what we've trained for. Some pilots wrote final letters home, others prayed. December 7th, 3:42 a.m. The minesweeper USS Condor spotted a submarine periscope outside Pearl Harbor. They reported it. The duty officer sent the destroyer USS Ward to investigate, but he didn't sound an alarm. Submarine sightings happened all the time, usually false alarms. 6 a.m. The first wave of Japanese aircraft launched, 183 planes. Fuchida led them, flying south toward Oahu. At Pearl Harbor, it was a quiet Sunday morning. Most sailors were sleeping. A few ate breakfast. Some prepared for church services. 6:45 a.m. The USS Ward found another submarine, trailing a supply ship into Pearl Harbor. The Ward opened fire. Direct hit. The submarine sank. The Ward's captain sent an urgent message. We have attacked, fired upon, and dropped depth charges on a submarine operating in defensive sea area. The message reached headquarters at 7:12 a.m. The duty officer was skeptical. Another submarine report? He decided to wait for confirmation. He didn't wake Admiral Kimmel. He didn't sound an alarm. 7:02 a.m. Private Lockard and Private Elliott were still at their radar station. Their shift was over, but their truck was late. Lockard kept the radar running. Then they saw it, the massive blip. They called it in. Lieutenant Tyler told them not to worry about it. 7:05 a.m. Tyler sat at his desk. He'd been on duty for 4 hours. His training had been minimal. One brief orientation. He'd been told to use common sense. He felt good about his decision. Those planes had to be the B-17S from California. Besides, Japan couldn't attack Pearl Harbor. Every expert said so. Tyler didn't know that decision would haunt him for the rest of his life. 7:15 a.m. Japanese scout planes flew over Pearl Harbor, confirming final targets. 8 battleships in a row, aircraft parked wingtip to wingtip. They radioed Fuchida, all forces present. Total surprise was about to be achieved. 7:53 a.m. Fuchida reached the north coast of Oahu. He looked down at Pearl Harbor, ships at anchor, no fighters rising to intercept, no anti-aircraft fire. He pressed his radio transmit button. Tora, Tora, Tora. Tiger, Tiger, Tiger. Complete surprise. 2 minutes until the first bomb. 7:55 a.m. The first bomb fell. It hit Ford Island in the center of Pearl Harbor, then another and another. Sailors looked up. They saw aircraft diving, red circles on the wings, Japanese. For a few seconds, nobody moved. Nobody believed it. This had to be a drill, some kind of mistake. Then the explosions started. The torpedo bombers came in low, skimming 50 feet above the water. Torpedoes splashed into the harbor, ran straight and true in the shallow water. The battleship USS Oklahoma took 3 torpedoes in 2 minutes. She began to roll. Sailors scrambled across her tilting deck. Some made it, 429 didn't. The Oklahoma capsized, upside down, her hull pointing at the sky. Men trapped inside pounded on the metal, screaming. The water was rising. Rescue crews could hear them, but couldn't reach them. At the information center, Lieutenant Tyler heard the explosions, distant, muffled through the walls. Then the phone rang. "Sir, we're under attack. Pearl Harbor is under attack." Tyler's blood ran cold. The radar contact. 137 miles north. The massive blip. The one he'd dismissed 53 minutes ago. That wasn't B-17s. Tyler grabbed his coat, ran outside, looked toward Pearl Harbor. Black smoke rose into the sky, massive columns of it. The entire harbor was burning. He'd seen them coming, 53 minutes early, and he'd done nothing. Tyler stood frozen, watching the smoke, his mind racing. What if he'd sounded the alarm? Fighters could have been scrambled. Anti-aircraft guns manned, ships dispersed. How many would still be alive? At Opana Point, Lockhart and Elliot heard the explosions too. They looked at each other. No words needed. That blip on the radar, the one they'd reported at 7:02, that was it. That was the attack. Lockhart would later testify at 3 separate investigations. Each time, he'd say the same thing. We reported it. We did our job. Someone just didn't listen. 8:06 a.m. A bomb hit the USS Arizona, forward magazine. Over 1 million pounds of gunpowder. The explosion was instant. The Arizona lifted out of the water, all 32,000 tons of her. A fireball erupted 500 feet into the air. The blast was felt across the entire harbor. 1,177 men died in 9 seconds. The Arizona settled back, broken, burning, sinking. Oil spread across the water, on fire. On the USS West Virginia, Doris Miller was in the galley, 22 years old, a mess attendant. His job was to serve officers their meals. The general quarters alarm sounded. Miller ran to his battle station. It had been destroyed. He found his captain on the bridge, Captain Bennion, mortally wounded. Miller carried him to safety. Then he saw an unmanned anti-aircraft gun. Miller had never been trained on the gun. The Navy didn't train black sailors for combat. That was the rule. Miller manned the gun anyway. He grabbed the handles, pointed at the sky, pulled the trigger. The gun roared to life. "It wasn't hard," he said later. "I just pulled the trigger and she worked fine." He fired until the ammunition ran out. 2 Japanese planes fell from the sky, maybe more. 8:10 a.m. The battleship USS Nevada tried something impossible. She tried to escape. Her captain wasn't aboard. The senior officer made the decision. Get underway. Get to open water. The Nevada's engines came to life. She began to move. Every American in the harbor watched. One battleship, fighting her way out. The Nevada passed the burning Arizona, passed the capsized Oklahoma, headed for the harbor entrance. The Japanese saw her too. Every bomber shifted target. If they could sink the Nevada in the channel, they'd block the entire harbor, trap the whole fleet. Bombs rained down. The Nevada took hit after hit, on fire, listing, but still moving. The harbor control tower radioed desperately. "Don't block the channel. Beach yourself." The Nevada turned, drove herself onto the shore, still fighting, still firing. Her crew refused to surrender. 8:25 a.m. The second wave arrived, 170 more aircraft. They found a harbor already destroyed, ships sinking, ships burning, water covered in oil. They attacked anyway. A few American pilots had made it to their planes. Second Lieutenants George Welch and Kenneth Taylor. They took off from a remote airfield. No orders, no clearance. They flew straight into the Japanese formations, 2 planes against hundreds. They shot down 6 enemy aircraft between them. 9:45 a.m., the last Japanese aircraft turned north, back to the carriers. The attack was over. Pearl Harbor was a graveyard. The Arizona was gone. The Oklahoma was capsized. The West Virginia was sunk. The California was sinking. The Nevada was beached. 3 more battleships damaged. All 8 battleships hit. 2,403 Americans dead. 1,178 wounded. 188 aircraft destroyed. Lieutenant Tyler stood outside the information center, still watching the smoke. He couldn't move, couldn't think. 53 minutes. If he'd made one different decision at 7:02, one phone call, one alarm, how many of those 2,403 would still be alive? He would carry that question for the rest of his life. The Japanese pilots returned to their carriers. Fuchida landed last, blood on his aircraft from anti-aircraft fire, but he was alive. He reported to Admiral Nagumo. Total success, all objectives achieved. Fuchida had a recommendation. Launch a 3rd wave, hit the fuel tanks, hit the repair facilities, hit the submarine base. Over 4 million barrels of fuel oil sat in tanks above Pearl Harbor, undefended, untouched. The repair facilities were intact, the machine shops undamaged, and most importantly, the American aircraft carriers weren't in port. They were at sea. Somewhere. Nagumo refused. "We've pushed our luck far enough. We're going home." It was the right tactical decision, the biggest strategic mistake of the war, because those fuel tanks would power the American counterattack. Those repair facilities would resurrect the Pacific Fleet. 6 of the 8 battleships would be raised and returned to service. And those 3 aircraft carriers, they would win the Battle of Midway 6 months later. December 8, 1941, Washington, D.C. President Franklin Roosevelt addressed Congress. Yesterday, December 7, 1941, a date which will live in infamy, the United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. Congress voted for war, 1 dissenting vote. The sleeping giant was awake. But back in Hawaii, questions were already being asked. How did this happen? How did Japan achieve complete surprise? Why weren't we ready? The investigations began. The Roberts Commission, the Army Pearl Harbor Board, the Navy Court of Inquiry, the Joint Congressional Committee, they interviewed hundreds of witnesses, reviewed thousands of documents, generated 40 volumes of testimony. Private Lockard testified, Private Elliott testified. They told the investigators about the radar contact at 7:02 a.m., the massive blip 137 miles out, how they'd reported it, how they'd been told not to worry about it. We saw them coming, Lockard said. 53 minutes before the first bomb, we did our job. The investigators asked who dismissed the report. Lieutenant Kermit Tyler was called to testify. He sat in front of the board, 28 years old, his military career effectively over. They asked him to explain his decision. Tyler told them about the B-17s from California, about how he'd assumed that's what the radar had detected. I made the best decision I could with the information I had, Tyler said. The board reviewed the facts. Tyler had been on duty for 4 hours. His training consisted of 1 brief orientation. He'd never been told that radar detection of enemy aircraft was even possible. Nobody had established procedures for what to do with radar reports. The board's conclusion was clear. The system had failed, not the man. Tyler was not court-martialed, not formally reprimanded. The military quietly moved him to another assignment. But Tyler knew the truth. 2,403 people were dead. He'd had 53 minutes to warn them, and he'd said, "Don't worry about it." The Navy promoted Doris Miller, gave him the Navy Cross, the first Black American to receive it. Miller continued to serve. He was killed in action 2 years later, November 1943, torpedo strike on the USS Liscombe Bay. He was 24 years old. Admiral Kimmel was relieved of command. He retired in disgrace. He spent the rest of his life fighting to clear his name. He never succeeded. He died in 1968, still carrying the blame. Lieutenant Tyler returned to combat duty. He flew transport missions for the rest of the war. He survived. After the war, he went home, got married, had children, lived a quiet life, but he never escaped December 7th. In interviews over the decades, reporters always ask the same question: do you think you could have stopped the attack? Tyler's answer never changed. I don't know. Probably not. The Japanese planes were already in the air, but maybe we could have been ready. Maybe some of those men would have survived. I think about it every day. I'll think about it until the day I die. Tyler lived until 2010. He was 96 years old. For 69 years, he carried December 7th with him. The radar operators who saw them coming, the lieutenant who dismissed the warning, the 2,403 who never knew what was coming. 53 minutes. That's how close they came to being warned. 53 minutes. That's how much warning America had. From radar detection at 7:02 a.m. to the first bomb at 7:55 a.m. The question everyone asks is simple. Would it have made a difference? Let's be honest, probably not enough. By 7:02, the Japanese planes were already 137 miles out, already committed, already coming. No warning would have stopped them. But 53 minutes is a long time. Long enough to scramble fighters, long enough to man anti-aircraft guns, long enough to move some ships, long enough to disperse aircraft on the ground, long enough to sound general quarters across the entire fleet. Would all 2,403 have been saved? No. Would some have been saved? Almost certainly. How many? We'll never know. That's what makes December 7th so haunting. It wasn't just a surprise attack, it was a preventable surprise. The radar worked. The operators did their job. The report was made. The system failed at the last possible moment. One phone call, one lieutenant, one decision. But here's what we learned. The failure wasn't Lieutenant Tyler's. He was a 28-year-old pilot on his fourth hour of a job he hadn't been trained for. He made a reasonable decision with incomplete information. The failure was systemic. Nobody had told Tyler that radar could detect enemy aircraft. Nobody had established procedures for radar warnings. Nobody had trained pursuit officers properly. Nobody believed Pearl Harbor could be attacked. The entire military structure had assumed the impossible was impossible, and they were wrong. After Pearl Harbor, everything changed. Radar stations were taken seriously, procedures were established, training was mandated, warning systems were built. The military learned that impossible just means we haven't seen it yet. But 2,403 Americans had to die for that lesson. Lieutenant Kermit Tyler lived with his decision for 69 years. In his final interview in 2009, a reporter asked him one last time, "Do you have any regrets?" Tyler was 96 years old. His voice was quiet. "Every single day," he said, "I see that radar screen. I hear that phone call. I say those words. Don't worry about it. Every single day for 69 years, and I'll see it tomorrow and the day after that, until the day I die." He paused. "But I want people to understand something. It wasn't one man's mistake. It was everyone's. We all thought Pearl Harbor was safe. We all thought Japan couldn't reach us. We were all wrong. I just happened to be the one sitting at that desk when the call came in." Tyler died 3 months later, January 23rd, 2010. Private Joseph Lockard, the radar operator who detected the attack, lived until 1984. He was 62 years old. Private George Elliott lived until 2003. He was 85. In all their interviews, they said the same thing. "We saw them coming. We reported it. Someone just didn't listen." December 7th, 1941 taught America an important lesson. The greatest threats aren't always the ones you're watching for. Sometimes they're the ones you've decided are impossible. And 53 minutes of warning doesn't matter if nobody believes the warning is real. The radar operators at Opana Point did their job perfectly that morning. The system failed them, and 2,403 Americans paid the price. 53 minutes. That's all it would have taken. One phone call, one alarm, one chance. This is the War Maestro Chronicles, forgotten warnings, dismissed heroes, the moments that changed everything. History remembers Pearl Harbor as a surprise attack. We remember the 2 radar operators who saw it coming. We remember the 53 minutes that could have changed everything. We remember Lieutenant Tyler, who carried December 7th for 69 years. The greatest tragedies aren't always the ones that couldn't be prevented. Sometimes they're the ones that almost were. If you want more stories that challenge what you thought you knew, subscribe. Your support keeps the warnings from being forgotten. Thanks for watching.